In the depths of ancient Japan, when myths still walked among men, a creature long forgotten by time begins its story once again. Today, we're diving into one of the most emotional and heartwarming fantasy anime films you've probably never heard of. A story where legends breathe, where pain lingers through time, and where a lonely mythical creature tries to find its place in our world. This is the story of Ku, the last Kappa.
It begins in the still, sacred waters of Ryujin Swamp. We see a quiet conversation between two mythical Japanese creatures, a father and son Kappa. The young one asks his father about dragons. The father tells him that he saw a dragon when he was a child. The son then asks, "Are dragons scary?" To which the father replies, "Yes, but they are kind gods. These days, humans are much scarier." Suddenly, the father tells the son to hide in the grass. Humans are coming. Two men arrive, samurai by the look of them. They're startled at the sight of a kappa. The father bows and says, "I didn't mean to scare you. I have a request. Please don't reclaim the Ryujin Swamp and turn it into a paddy field. If you take the swamp, we can't live." The samurai suspects the kappa overheard their conversation. The kappa says, "I didn't hear anything," but the samurai accuses him of lying. Just then, the young kappa emerges and begs, "Please forgive us." The samurai panics, thinking it's a trap, and in fear and confusion, he slashes the father's arm and kills him. The son doesn't understand what's happening. "Father?" he cries out over and over. As the samurai turns to attack him, an earthquake shakes the ground. The earth splits open, and the little kappa falls into the crack and disappears underground. Years pass. We shift to modern-day Tokyo, in the suburb of Higashikurum City. A fourth-grade boy named Koichi Uehara is exploring one day when he finds a strange fossil-like rock. Curious, he brings it home. When he puts it in water, something incredible happens. The fossil softens, begins to move, and transforms into a small, living creature. A kappa. It blinks and softly mutters, "Ku." Koichi's family is stunned. His mother Yukari and little sister Hitomi are frightened. Later, Koichi's father, Yasuo, arrives home and observes the creature calmly. "It doesn't look like a normal animal," he says. Koichi explains that after putting the fossil in water, it suddenly grew and said its name, so he decided to call it Ku. Yukari doesn't want to keep it, saying, "You said the same thing when you brought home that stray dog. I ended up taking care of it." But suddenly Ku speaks, "Please, don't kill me." The room falls silent. Yasuo quickly tells Koichi to pour water on its head. Kappas need to keep the dish on their head moist to survive. Yasuo asks, "Did you feed him anything?" Koichi replies, "I gave him cucumbers." Yasuo laughs and says, "It's not an insect, give it real food." Koichi feeds Ku again, and the creature slowly regains energy. From this point on, Koichi is told to keep Ku a secret. The next morning, Yukari softens and gives Ku a cucumber. Ku looks around and asks, "Where am I? Is this near Kurome River?" Yasuo begins researching and finds that during the Edo period over 100 years ago, what is now called Kurume River was once Kurome River. This confirms it. Ku is a being from the Edo period, buried alive for a century. One evening, Koichi gently asks Ku about the samurai. Ku flinches. "My father was killed by a samurai. Then there was an earthquake. I fell into the ground. I was alone." Koichi comforts him and says, "There are no more samurai. The world has changed." Over time, Koichi teaches Ku how to walk again, how to eat, bathe, and do normal human things. Sometimes, Ku's antics are silly and clumsy, making the family laugh. Koichi even introduces him to their dog, Asen. To everyone's surprise, Asen and Ku become best friends. They play, eat, and spend time together like inseparable companions. But even as things seem peaceful, there's an underlying question. Can a mythical creature survive in the modern world? How long can this secret last? One day, after spending time recovering and bonding with the Uehara family, Ku quietly thanks them. "I'm all better now," he says. "So I'm going back to Ryujin Swamp." The mood shifts. Koichi's face drops. He tries to stop him. "Why?" he asks. Why can't you stay? Ku looks away and softly replies, my father once said, humans and kappas cannot live together. The words sting. A silence falls. But Yasuo, Koichi's father, steps in. That may have been true back then, but the world has changed. There's danger outside too. Are you sure you'll be safe? Ku hesitates. His small hands grip the edge of the table. After a long pause, he smiles. I'll stay a little longer. Later, Koichi gives him something new, mineral water. Ku sips it with curiosity, delighted by the bubbly sensation. This tastes fancy, he says, eyes wide. Slowly, the quiet home grows warmer. Ku begins to truly feel like family. But not everything is peaceful. One day, Hitomi, Koichi's little sister, brings home some snails for her school project. She carefully places them in a small tank. A few moments later, she returns to find one of them missing. She yells, "Did you eat my snail?" After that, Ku eats one of Hitomi's snails, and Hitomi starts screaming. Ku looks up, innocent. "Wasn't it for me?" he says, blinking. Hitomi is furious. The next day, Koichi takes Ku out for a secret bike ride. He hides Ku in a backpack and pedals through town, showing him the exact place where he first found him buried, the spot that began everything. Ku looks at it quietly, as if remembering something far older than time. Back at home, Yasuo offers Ku a small wooden chair. Ku happily accepts it until Hitomi walks in.
That's my chair.
She snaps. Before anyone can react, she shoves Ku off. Ku rolls to the floor, blinks, then suddenly gets serious.
Ah. Sumo?
He said.
You want to challenge me?
Hitomi raises an eyebrow.
Fine. Bring it.
They square off. In the middle of the room, child versus kappa. One push. Boom, Ku wins easily. That night, after dinner, Koichi and Yasuo decide to test their strength too. Let's see what this little guy's got, Yasuo jokes. One by one, they face off in light-hearted sumo matches. And one by one, they lose. As the night winds down, Yasuo relaxes with a drink. Ku looks at the can with curiosity. "Can I try?" he asks. Yasuo smirks and pours a bit into Ku's plate. Sure, why not? What he doesn't mention is that it's alcohol. Ku slurps it, blinks, pauses, then his cheeks go red. Ku sighs, "Oh, this water feels spicy." After that, Ku starts dancing, which looks really funny. Everyone laughs hard. It's a rare, warm moment. A mythical creature, a modern family, and one strange but beautiful night. Suddenly he faints. Later that night, he wakes up and steps outside. It's raining, perhaps because of his rain dance, and he begins talking to Asen. Asen gently reminds Ku to be careful not to be seen and tells him to return soon, as the people in this home are kind. However, a couple spots Ku. Meanwhile, Hitomi tells her friends about him, and slowly, word begins to spread. Some of Koichi's friends ask him if the rumors are true, but Koichi refuses to say anything. One day, Koichi reads a magazine article about kappas and a place where they supposedly still exist. He takes Ku there, hoping to find others like him, but after searching for hours, they find nothing. Disappointed, they stay at a hotel. That night, Ku meets a doll in the hotel room. She tells him that she hasn't seen a kappa in over 100 years. Ku realizes he might be the last one. On the way back home, two men suddenly grab Koichi and forcefully take pictures of Ku. The flash and fear remind Ku of the samurai. He panics and shatters the camera lens with his gaze. News of Ku spreads quickly. The media begins tracking Koichi's family, crowding outside their home and making their lives miserable. One day, in an attempt to calm things down, the family releases a video of Ku, but it backfires. The media becomes even more desperate to see him in person. Eventually, the family decides that showing Ku to the press might be the only way to stop the harassment. Before the interview, Ku talks to Asen and asks him to come along. Asen shares his own story. He says, "Humans can change suddenly. My first owner was like that. When he was a kid, we were close. We played together every day. But one day, he was bullied badly, and something in him changed. From then on, I was the only one he could take it out on. He hit me. Every day. I never understood why he had to go through that, but it was heartbreaking. I didn't like being hurt, and I didn't like watching him become someone else either. So I ran away. I ran until I collapsed. Koichi found me. He looks at Ku and adds, Koichi is a lot like that boy used to be back when he was still kind. Ku quietly says, I wonder why humans change. Asen replies, me too. A few moments later, Koichi's family arrives at the media headquarters. As the doors open, Ku freezes. A massive crowd has gathered, cameras flashing, reporters yelling, lights everywhere. Ku is overwhelmed. Fear and confusion flash across his face. Inside the studio, Ku is shown live on TV. But instead of awe, the reaction is mixed. Some viewers call him a fake. Others claim he's just a robot or part of an elaborate hoax. The noise grows louder, more chaotic. Then the anchor introduces a special guest, Shimizu Sumio-san, a respected folklore researcher who has long claimed that kappas truly existed. As he steps on stage, Ku stares at him, stunned. His face is almost identical to the samurai who killed his father. Memories come flooding back. The fear, the scream, the blade. Sumio calmly presents an old relic, a kappa's severed arm. The crowd gasps. Holding it high, he says, long ago, my ancestor defeated a mischievous kappa. This arm has been in our family for generations. Ku's eyes widen. He recognizes it immediately, his father's arm. Emotions boil over. He steps forward, tears streaming down his face. His voice trembles with anger and pain. My father was not mischievous. He was a kind and noble kappa. He was the best at catching fish. He was admired, not feared. The crowd goes silent. Sumio insists on keeping the arm, calling it a precious artifact. But just then, a cameraman zooms in too close, recording Ku's face. Ku turns, glaring. The lens shatters with a burst of unseen force. Panic erupts. One by one, every camera malfunctions, lenses cracking, equipment shorting out. People scream. Some run. The studio descends into chaos. The anchor nervously asks Ku to return the arm, but Ku clutches it tightly and bolts. Security tries to intercept him, but just in time, Asen appears. He leaps in front of the crowd and blocks their path. Ku jumps on Asen's back, and together, they escape, racing through the media frenzy, disappearing into the city. Asen keeps running with Ku on his back, but he's panting heavily. Exhausted, he finally comes to a stop. Just as he tries to catch his breath, the crowd begins to close in. Though he doesn't want to run anymore, he forces himself to keep going for Ku. Suddenly, Asen crashes into a speeding car. The impact is violent. He collapses to the ground, motionless. Ku is thrown off and lands beside him. Rushing to Asen's side, he finds him gravely injured. With a weak voice, Asen apologizes. Looks like you'll have to go the rest of the way alone. Ku blames himself for everything. Tears fall as he says, this happened because of me. Asen gives a faint smile. Would it have been better if I had stayed, just to be beaten every day? Maybe if I had, he'd have had a way to let out his anger. Maybe he could have become like the kid I once knew again. With those final words, Asen dies. Ku breaks down, weeping over the only true friend he had in this new world. The crowd watches in silence, until camera shutters start clicking again, trying to capture the tragedy like it's entertainment. Suddenly, crows descend, drawn to Asen's body. One lands too close. Ku's eyes flare with rage, and with a single glare, he kills the crow. The others scatter in fear. The onlookers freeze, horrified. Then, Ku stumbles away and climbs to the top of a nearby tower. He's weak, his body drying out, he needs water. As he breaks down in tears, memories of his father flood back. The sky darkens. Rain begins to fall. And in the pouring rain, a dragon appears, as if answering his pain. Koichi climbs the tower and finds him. Gently, he says, "You don't have to go. I promise, I won't do anything to upset you." Ku calms down and comes down from the tower. Together with Koichi's family, they return to the spot where Asen's body lies. Everyone is silent. Yasuo speaks with a heavy heart. Asen did what we couldn't. He gave his life to protect Ku. They hold a quiet farewell and return home. Days later, a mysterious letter arrives addressed to Ku. Inside, a strange message is written: "Send yourself as a package. Come here. Come immediately." Koichi reads it and grows suspicious. This has to be a trap, but Ku shakes his head. It's not written in any human language. At first, Koichi and his family try to stop Ku from leaving. But deep down, Koichi realizes that one day, Ku will have to go. This world isn't meant for a Kappa anymore. It's just not safe. So, the family decides to throw Ku a heartfelt farewell party. During the celebration, Ku smiles softly and says, "I used to think humans were monsters, but you all proved me wrong." Koichi, holding back tears, asks, "Then why don't you stay with us?" Ku replies, "If I stay here, I'll have to live like a human. And when I die, I'll go to the place where my father, mother, and all my ancestors are waiting. How could I face them if I've forgotten what it means to be a Kappa? The longer I stay, the harder it'll be to leave. That's why I must go." They all share a quiet meal together. Then they gather and take one last family photo, each of them smiling through the sadness. Finally, the time comes for Ku to leave. Hitomi bursts into tears. Ku gently promises her, "I'll visit you someday. Kappa don't lie." One by one, each family member says their goodbyes. With care, they place Ku into a special package for transport. To outsmart the press, Yasuo distracts the media with a decoy package, and reporters rush to follow him. Meanwhile, Koichi sneaks out with the real one. Before sending the package, he introduces Ku to his friend Kikuchi. Then, standing by the mailbox, Koichi spends a few last moments talking to Ku, trying to say everything he's been holding back. As the van arrives to collect the package, Koichi watches silently. Then he hears Ku's voice one last time. "I'm sorry I startled you when we first met," Ku says. "But I could always hear the voice in your heart. Don't blame yourself. I never held a grudge. I loved living with you, and that's not a lie. We'll meet again someday. I'm glad I didn't die." Tears stream down Koichi's face. He starts running after the van, eyes filled with sorrow and gratitude, chasing the memory of a friend who changed his life. Finally, the van reaches its destination. The package is carefully opened, and an unfamiliar man takes Ku out and offers him water. Then, with a warm smile, the man reveals his true form. He's a Kijimuna, a wood spirit from Okinawan folklore, distant kin to the Kappa. Childlike in appearance, yet ancient in wisdom, the Kijimuna says, "Welcome home, little one." The Kijimuna turns to Ku with a playful grin and says, "I only look like this to fool humans. I saw you on TV and knew I had to help. Don't worry, humans can't find this place easily." Ku bows his head gently. "Thank you." The Kijimuna chuckles. "Don't be so formal. Just call me Asen." Ku smiles. "My name's Ku. A human gave it to me." Asen nods. "Well then, Ku, there's a river deep in the forest. You can swim there, it's safe." Ku's eyes light up. "Really? I'd love that." He sets off into the forest, and as he reaches the peaceful river, surrounded by nature, he pauses. With sincerity in his heart, Ku kneels by the water and speaks softly to the land itself. "Dear God of this land, please allow me and my father to stay here for a while. Let me take only enough fish from this river to survive." He then turns to the arm of his father, still held close, and whispers, "Hey Dad, I think I like this Kijimuna Asen. Maybe there really are other Kappa out there, some who can even take human form." The gentle sound of the river flows around him. "Once I've rested, I'm going on a journey. I'll search for the other Kappa. And I'll visit Koichi too. I'm sorry, Dad, but I made some wonderful friends who are human." With that, Ku steps into the river, the water sparkling under the sunlight. He begins to swim, his silhouette gliding peacefully through the current. The screen fades to black. The story ends not with goodbye, but with a new beginning.